Super. Thank you.
So I know there's been an introduction. I just wanted to follow up a little bit. So greetings from Silicon Valley in California. I was born and raised here. I had the great fortune of working in 3 different early stage startups at the time in the semiconductor industry, each one of which I either division manager, VP marketing, or CEO. We took each of those all the way from scratch through profitability, took each one of the 3 public and sold them for a collective 12 billion. So I've been through the journey, mostly from an engineering and deep tech perspective, although I've done some consumer marketing as well. For the last several years, I've been an independent, and I have the best job of ever, which is to teach. So I can teach innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture capital at Berkeley and a few other places, Northeastern, and a few other places. I teach like an engineer. So everything's like process and frameworks. I can't help it. I like it. And so we're going to do a little bit of that today. For some, this is our first time together. So for some of you, this will be basic. I'm going to go pretty fast. So the idea is to get everybody on the same page with the same vocabulary, and we're going to build up from there. So today I'm going to cover frameworks, market research, and a lot of things you may not have heard before on that side. I'll touch on personas. I'll touch on interviewing. And so this is all the basic stuff that many of you have already been through in some form, but often if you're running into problems and you're not seeing traction in the marketplace, taking 1 step back to go 2 steps forward is a good thing. So with that in mind, I have a brand new lecture I've put together, and I've given it once. You're the second people that have seen it. And so here we go. So this I was asked to give. You have the opportunity to teach around. I gave this in Austria a couple of weeks ago. Risk management in startup companies. So this whole idea that startups essentially are risk bundles. I think super risky at the early on. I mean, you have an idea and a hypothesis of what to do as a business, but this whole idea of markets and customers and pricing and delivery and the list goes on and on. So what we're going to do is I'll show you some things to mitigate risk. And again, you know many of these, but hopefully learn a couple things along the way. It's interesting to start off with this. If you haven't seen this report, there's a lot of talk about why startups fail. But this is the only sort of semi-academic research piece that's been out there. And it lists out the top 20 reasons why startups fail. And not surprising, the first thing is no market need. You're building something that no one wants. And I come from the engineering world, and engineers love to build things. They don't necessarily like to talk to people about it. They think they're right and correct. So the idea of pushing something out there is one of the main mechanisms for failure. And running out of cash is not necessarily a function of cash. It's often a function of you haven't built something that anybody wants. Your team is not working together and so on. So let's figure out ways to sort of mitigate those risks. And we're going to work kind of on the top 2 there, and consider that you hopefully pull together a decent team. That one we can talk about in a different discussion, but that's not necessarily for today. If you're into it, it's funny, here in the US, we don't care so much. If you start something and it doesn't work out, we don't say you failed, we just say it didn't work out. Oh, well, let's move on and do the next thing. At least my friends in Europe, they all focus on failure. And if you failed, they want to hear about it and all the dirty secrets and everything that happened. And there's F-up nights and F-up discussions. And that's kind of a big deal. So if you're interested, here's something from CB Insights where you can go through and take a look at what others have done in the journeys that they may not have taken. But that 2016 report has come out now, and it's modified. Now, instead of 20 reasons, it's top 11. And again, you see the same thing here, but outcompeted, flawed business model, pricing issues. These are all things that you can fix with a little bit of research. So let's figure out how to do that. And again, you can take a look now. There's this one, which is Failery, an entire website of the Startup Cemetery. so on. But the number is 90%. About 90% of all attempts fail at some point. Most start and survive for the first year because you've got that passion and drive, but then the things start, the lack of market need and the lack of traction has us failing over time. So there was this article which I liked, which was, and by the way, you guys are all going to get copies of these slides, so you don't have to take notes or write or anything down if you need to. But this one went through the CB Insights report and started to distill out information: finance, management, demand, and product. Running out of cash, we have the wrong team, inadequate demand. And I'd say, to me, the biggest problem is here. It's this whole idea that the product isn't right for the customers that you have. And if you're pushing it and not necessarily seeing enough traction early on, we can fix that. So all of you are somewhere in this journey, wherever you came from, whether you started with an idea, you personally, and built your team around it, or whether you just had a bunch of people that you like to work with, and now you're putzing around and trying to figure out what that idea is and how to move it forward. Some of you may have come out of research labs, universities, inside larger companies and so on. And so there's the ability to go ahead and start with research or even just the problem you're solving. But everything converges this whole idea of problem solution. I've identified a real problem out there that people have and want. Let's break it. We'll break that open. And now you have a solution. And at that point, that's the survival point for most companies. Once you've built something, found something that's worth building, then we go through all this idea of getting something into the market and identifying product market fit. That's the point you're fundable. So, not too many people, maybe some grants, maybe friends and family are going to fund you during this phase while you're going off and trying to find product market fit and experimenting with various channels and so on. Again, you might be able to go to an accelerator, USF. There are some things for funding. You're lucky because we don't have that here in the US. So at least in your case, you have the ability to get to here. But then being fundable then drives you, and the partners you build and the network you build and the investors you build will drive you either up or down. And so we'll go through each of these and all the tactical things that you need to do at each phase throughout this, this program. First off, if you're building an entrepreneurial library, if you're looking at resources to go off and do this is where I would start. So this book, The Startup Owner's Manual by Steve Blank, Silicon Valley legend, kind of breaks down this process into its individual steps. It's been around for some time. It was originally published in 2005, but it still survives the test of time. It is not the most readable thing in the world. It reads like an encyclopedia. It's about that thick, 400 pages, but it's not that expensive. It's like 25 bucks. It has been translated into multiple languages. I think it's in Ukrainian. I know it's in Russian. And other places. And so take a look, Startup Owner's Manual. And then there's this other book, which is kind of also famous. They're very related. So Steve Blank, this guy, was on the board of a company run by Eric Ries. And Eric was told, run this method. And Eric was like, I don't know, it's a book and it's too hard. So he did eventually learn and then took some of the lessons and put them into this, which is an easier read. And it talks about MVPs and pivots and things like that. So these two can have like the major part of the vocabulary going on. Pretty simple. Don't just build something because you think you want to. Learn from your customers. Don't sit in your office. Get out of the building. Talk to as many people as possible, as soon as possible. What you have isn't all that precious. You're not building anything based on secrets. Get out there and talk to people that may end up being interested in buying things, either consumers or businesses. And then through that, you'll end up mitigating risk and getting through all these failures. So for those who've seen it, many of you have seen this before, these are the 4 steps. And the whole idea here is that we're applying the scientific method to entrepreneurship. You remember the scientific method from high school chemistry and physics and things. where somebody had an observation, some chemical reaction, and you have a guess as to what that's happened. You have a hypothesis as to what's actually going on. Then you design and conduct a series of experiments to either prove or disprove your hypothesis. This is what we're doing with entrepreneurship. We take your product or service, or the problem that you believe is worth solving. We design a series of experiments. We go off and talk to the customers that we're looking at working with. We prove or disprove early on, cheaply, easily, our hypothesis. We may end up building some prototypes out there to put them in people's hands, paper prototypes, low fidelity. Let's get it out there and see. And through these experiments that we run, we try to find a product worth building. Again, one of the biggest risks, and this is where the biggest failure point is that people have not done their homework, and you rush into the marketplace, and then you push on something where you don't have a good sense of what your customers need and how they work. I'll show you a couple things over the course of the next half hour on that. Okay, congratulations. You got a product that hopefully is worth building. Now let's take it to market. Instead of just the few people that we've spoken to, now we're going to develop our marketing, our channels. We're going to do some lead generation. We're going to build out a sales funnel. We're going to set our messaging, our pricing, the product performance levels, bundling, all the things we're going to do in order to take this thing out to market. The objective here is to build a sustainable, repeatable sales process. What does that mean? Usually in the form of a sales funnel. So you've got an entire process that says, I'm going to find customers, I'm going to generate some leads, I'm going to get them to my website, to my store, I'm going to be able to identify who they are. I'm going to give them the information they need to evaluate me versus my competition, to evaluate the value of the solution, and to see whether they want to do a purchase. Then actually go through the process of conducting a purchase, receiving the goods or services, and going off. Ultimately, a scalable, repeatable sales process is going to be unique to you. That's why mentors and things like that are really good at this point. And ultimately, what you want is to derive some number. Often it's customer acquisition cost. So I know that for every 100 Rivnas that I'm spending, I receive 1,000 Rivnas in sales. It's that fixed ratio, that customer acquisition cost and that potential customer lifetime value. If you're able to delineate that, you've arrived. Before that, you're messing around. You're running too many experiments and you're trying to figure that out. So we want to get you to the point where you have a sustainable, repeatable sales process. Now you're ready to basically take this set of experiments and bring it to the mass market and develop a plan to go ahead and achieve rapid and scalable growth. So you're flat and also boom, this is the point you're fundable. This is the point where investors, because now you look like a black box. There's money goes in, you do everything you're going to do, and money comes out in a predictable fashion. You're fundable by angels, you're fundable by venture capitalists. Before that, because nobody's going to fund you necessarily here or here too much later on in the phase. And then the last one here, we're not there yet, but basically the idea is that you're running experiments, trying, proving, getting along the way, all of the searching, and then eventually you now have your product service company and you're running it. It's an operations machine and you're off and going. So there you go. Those are the things. So I've been doing all the yapping here, and now it's time to turn over the microphone to you guys. So I'm looking for proof. What is the validation point? What do people tell me when to validate that I have a product that's worth building? What signals am I looking for from customers at this point? How do I know that I have a product worth building? Anybody? Just guess.
They express interest for that.
Interest, yeah. That's cool. I mean, if you bring it your mother, she would be interested, probably.
Need.
I'm sorry?
Need.
They're ready to pay for that, maybe.
They're ready to pay for this. They're actually, this is the signal you're waiting for. If you're not receiving revenue signals, and it kind of builds up. So the way I say it is you have customers, you're speaking with them, they'll go, yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I'll download it. Okay, sure, I'll take a look. But you want them waiting. What you're doing here is they have a problem, a need, a desire, an unmet need, a desire, and they're solving it somehow right now that's inefficient. You come in and you present what you're doing, and they go, oh my God, I've been solving this problem and it's driving me crazy, and I need that solution. I want that solution. That's amazing. So you have customers waiting. Hopefully you have customers begging. You want them to give that emotional trigger. You want them to really want and love your product or service. They go, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm using something else. It's all right. It's that flat signal that you're getting is not where you want to be, because what will happen is you have to push on everybody to get them to use your product or service. You want them to actually circle back and beg for it. I need this right now, and I need it, and I want to buy it, and I have my money. Please take my money. I want to be the first in line. Yes, I need this. Watch for those signals. It's emotional. And if you don't have those emotional triggers, even if you're B2B, if you don't have somebody, a champion within a company you're selling to, stop, work on this. Don't take the time to spend money on marketing until you fix this problem. Telling you, so we'll go through that as we're doing individual mentoring sessions and so on. We'll work on that. Where are you? Here's what I'd like you guys to consider. Again, you have these slides. If you cannot fill this out with good, strong information, what's the problem you're solving? Who has that problem? How painful is it? What evidence do you have that someone is willing to pay you? Evidence, not that, yeah, I'll pay, but actually someone stepping up and maybe actually paying you in advance. Same thing on the other side, they match. What is the solution? What are the benefits of that solution? Customer benefits. What evidence do you have that's better than competition? Like real evidence. And then how many people are lining up? So this is a good map, a status check on what's going on. And so we give talks, and as an academic, you get all these things. So this is a problem, your problem statement. Sometimes it's a job to be done. Your customer has a job to be done. Look that up. There's a lot of terms around it. You have a persona. Who are your hypothetical customers? We'll talk about that in a minute. What's the need, time, urgency, and what are you seeing? And what's the product? What are the benefits? How you compare versus competition? And actually, what's the demand? Do you know in the short term how many people are going to line up? Don't spend money on marketing until you get this done. Basic. Okay, so let's say you did it and it all looks good. That would be wonderful. And so now we're going to go off and build our sustainable, repeatable sales process. It's a process. It's a series of steps that your customers are going to go through on a customer journey as they learn about you, evaluate you, buy from you, and use your product or service. So how do we know, what are the signals, and I've already said it once, what are the signals that you've actually arrived, that you have a sustainable, repeatable sales process? Anybody?
For example, I could have 5 products, and I see, I observe if two of them are being purchased on the basic on daily, and customers have interest in it, and maybe this kind of traction would give me the answer and the confidence.
Good, good. So you're
Sure,
seeing, you have a product portfolio. You're seeing strong traction on a couple of them out of that. Cool. So when you say traction from a repeatable, sustainable sales process, what indicator would you look for? How do you know that you have strong traction? And it's kind of a funny question. Let me put it a different way. So you're spending money now on sales and marketing, yes, for all 5 products, and you're seeing some success on 2 of them. Are you shifting your sales budget over to those 2? Or are you going to continue to sell all 5?
I would change those 3 which are not very well done, maybe, and maybe I would raise their quality, or I'll get rid of them if I find it reasonable for my business.
Okay, so you're still here. You're searching for the thing that works, and that's kind of what we're looking for too at this stage, is the fact that when you're ready to spend your 100 hryvnias on sales and marketing, and you know that sales and marketing will result in 1,000 hryvnias worth of sales or something like that. It is the predictable results. You have a budget, and when you budget those monies and you spend those monies, you can forecast what the results are going to be. And it's kind of simple. It's hard to get there. It's hard to get there because we're always running experiments. We're trying to see what goes on. We're trying to find out different customers. All that stuff is fine. That means you're still here. You're not quite investable yet. So what we're going to talk about later on is building out this kind of a sales funnel. And it's different whether you're selling to consumers as individuals, or you're selling to businesses as, collections of people. So a consumer will search for information, learn about you on the web, read some reviews and compare, learn more about your products, make the decision on maybe going through checkout and completing the sale. So every set of product or services will have a journey that people go through. Your businesses, the sales cycles are longer, they're more complex, you're dealing with an organization, they're usually larger sales and so on, but you can see here that we can identify those steps in the process. And if this sort of automation is critical to large scale success. So this is the way you go from just a few people running experiments to a larger, more productive organization. So let's say you built that out. Congratulations. So what will the market tell us? How will the market respond once we've achieved product market fit and we're on our way to rapid and scalable growth? Who else gets involved? Kind of a weird question, but it's investors. So again, at this point, you're fundable. So we're going to try to get you there and describe all the points along the way, and then how to reach out to funders and tell them the messages that you got overall. You may have received some early stage funding here. Congratulations. Grants are fine. I'm talking about actual investors, venture capitalists and so on. But if you've received some monies in here, that's great. They have trust in you and trust in your journey. But farther along you are in the pipeline, the more confidence you'll have with investors. So that's that process. So my job today was to talk a little bit about framework. This is the framework, and these are the steps. Now, I'm going to talk about a different framework that maybe some of you see, maybe not. This one's called Disciplined Entrepreneurship. Was developed at MIT. So Steve Blank's stuff is like Berkeley, Stanford, West Coast, Silicon Valley. This one is East Coast, MIT, Harvard, places like that. And it starts differently. It doesn't start with this problem I'm going to solve, because not everybody runs around during the day and says, I'm going to solve problems and I'm going to find something and so on. If you're able to, great. But human nature has us building stuff. I have a thing. I have some brand new chemical compound. I have some brand new toy that I've built, and I think there's going to be a market for it, but I don't know that yet. or I have an idea about something, or I have a passion. I love banks, or I hate banks. Hate banks is probably more like it. I love animals and I'm going to take care of animals. Okay, well, what does that mean? How does that become a business? So this framework starts here, and many of you might be there and started already. And we'll go through this later, but it basically is 24 steps, the first 2 of which are super important. I don't know if you can see that, but they are, let me see what the next slide is. Yeah, I'm going to stay here. So the first 2 are market segmentation and beachhead market. So if you have an idea or a passion, you're trying to figure out what to do with it. Yeah, you can use this problem solution fit, but the first thing we can do is to do something called a market segmentation, which is basically if your thing has 20 different uses. It's a brand new chemical compound. It can be used for industrial cleaning. It can be used as toothpaste. It can be used as car wash. It can be used all kinds of things. Whatever it is you're doing or how many customers you're thinking of chasing overall, you can put them on a list. Brainstorm all the possibilities of what your product or service could be used for. Cool. Now we have a list. We're building a table. We put that list along the top. Along the side, we put in all the business metrics. Do you know who the customers are? Can you reach the customers? What's competition look like? Yeah, can you start interviewing these? All the things, and we'll have a list for you. All the things that would turn this into a strong potential business. Now you have a grid and you simply score everything. For each market, you score the business attributes and then you multiply those out at the bottom and you'll see a ranking overall that talks about how powerful your product or solution would be for the markets that you want to chase. And at the end of the day, you can pick, hopefully, and it usually happens, 1 or 2 or 3 will emerge as the top winners. And then we start to think it through something called a beachhead market. A beachhead market, it's a military term. It has to do like with World War II and Fortress Europe that Germany had built, and the Allies did not know what to do about it, where to start invading. They tried Italy, that wasn't working. They were thinking about Norway and Denmark and Belgium and France and Spain, looked at everything. They chose Normandy as a place to land on a beachhead with all of their forces, to land and expand. That's a beachhead market. It may not be the best market. Normandy wasn't the best place, but it was the best opportunity for somebody who had to crack that market and to go ahead and get in. So those are the 2 things. We'll do with you, if you need to, a market segmentation and decide on a beachhead market for you. And then all this stuff starts to look similar. User profiles and personas and specifications and customers. So the thing here is, as a startup founder, don't do too many things. Don't chase all these different markets and try this, because you're going to run out of time. It's not going to work. So we're looking for something called the holy grail of specificity. The 1 or 2 things that you're going to chase with the strongest chances of success. So that's why we're talking about risk management for startups. Make sense? Yes? Good? Okay. Cool. All right. So we've talked a little bit about demand and product, but you can also worry about finance and management and everything else. So just know that as you're pursuing funding, that at every single round, you'll have an opportunity. So in this one survey done by the same people, 1,000 companies ended up being funded. Only 40% got a second round, only 20% got a first round, and so on. And so you can see that it's really that you're on a difficult journey. And many of them lots of them, but not everybody was successful. But we had failures even after funding at each and every one. So it's our job here to try to give you the tools so that you're not one of those statistics overall. So congratulations on getting this far. Congratulations on being part of this program. we'll do our best to try to get you there. We're going to put you on one of these journeys. We'll try to get you through this valley of death. Most of you are here trying to figure out your first prototypes, your first go to market, hopefully break even, climb out of that and become fundable. Cool. So I'm gonna drop this presentation. I'll go through the funding process and so on. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Today, I do want to focus on frameworks and early stage product development. We're good. Before I do, any questions, any comments? No. Is this useful? You're still with us. You're still with me. Thank you. So that's a good sign. Again, I'll go fast and we'll put all these slides together for you right at the end. What I'd like to do, hang on one sec. I have to do a couple things with slides. There we go. What I'd like to do is to talk about this whole customer discovery item and a proper way to do that. And maybe I'll give you a few tips along the way. So many of you have already done some of this. Maybe you've reached the point where you're satisfied. So I'm going to supplement the basics with some new tips and tricks. And I'm going to start with something a little different. Today's a different day. And that's secondary market research. So there's primary market research, which is speaking with customers. And this is secondary market research, which is learning from other people that have done a lot of the work for you. So we do want to know, are you solving a problem? Do you fill an unmet need? Who has it? How many people? Who else is in the market? And how will you make money? And so when you're building your pitch, you will have to investors, you will have all this information laid out in one slide, really sharp, has all the information we need. And we're going to try to get you there. So you do it in two ways. One is you go off and you speak with customers and vendors and suppliers and everybody else in your ecosystem and try to get out there. But again, secondhand information is other people that have done this for you. So we're going to build out this matrix on primary resources that you go off and do, and motivation behavior. You don't want to have people begging you for what it is you're doing overall. And we're going to conduct some interviews. I'll talk about that in a minute. You might be able to run surveys. Surveys are misleading. Surveys often are your mindset that are put on paper and you're just looking for confirmation of your own mindset. The way to get out there and learn new things and penetrate new markets is to actually speak with people. On secondary sources, there's all kinds of things about your product or service that are out there that allow you to judge whether there is maybe a real market need. But I'm going to talk a lot about this. So you're building a business. At the end of the day, the business has to be profitable and have the capability of growing. So let's take a look at all the kinds of things that we're going to build in order to do that. You've seen this. So just last point. You research here for sure. You have to, but that continues here and that continues all the way through. So it's that mindset of running experiments that never stops. So the quick set of steps is trying to figure out what you're going to try to research. Is this going to be useful for you? What are the questions you're going to ask? And then the reason I like this chart is because it says we start with all the information that's available. Why go off and start interviewing before you know enough about the market and your customers and everything else that you can find out? And you can do that from your office before you go off and do secondary research. So we're going to focus here and off we go. First, hello, you guys do this every day. Go online, Google your potential customers, Google your market, Google your competition, not just Google, but all these other search engines. It turns out, I was working with somebody earlier this week that said they were Googling, but as soon as they went to Bing, the Microsoft search engine, they saw all kinds of other information on their business because in their one case, Bing was a much better industrial website for business to business customers than Google ever was. So do take the time. Baidu's Chinese, Yandex is kind of still around, on and off, and so on. So each one of these covers different markets and different things. And you can expand your search and just go through one by one and do search on your products and services, your customers, what's going on, and get a better idea what's out there. You can use advanced techniques. So Boolean search, drill down exactly what you're doing. This was a particular type of food product that they're looking for, trying to develop oatmeal, healthy oatmeal for somebody. But you can do this, and you know the techniques. It's simple Boolean and/or search. Also, take a look here as you're searching. Google Scholar has a lot of the academic articles and resources. Some of it's pretty cool, and also both articles and case law. So you can take a look at what's going on in terms of the legal frameworks that are happening with your product and service. You can also look at patents. So Google Patents is a really good search engine worldwide for patents. There's also another patent search engine called USPTO, the US Patent and Trademark Office, that will talk about what's out there in terms of intellectual property. Of course, when you're building something, you don't want to violate anybody's patent, but you have the opportunity also to create intellectual property. So it's take a look there. All right, so you've done some searching. That's cool. Take half a day, map things out. What this gives you is a better knowledge base. As soon as you start to talk to customers or investors, you'll have a better sense of what's going on in the world. Second, if you have access to any academic resources, the school that you went to, or maybe you know somebody that's a student at a leading university, and the Moldovan universities, Moldova Tech and Moldova State are two good ones. I've been there and talked to the rectors there. Kharkiv Polytechnic is still up and running. Kiev Polytechnic, all of those. If you get access to any of those, or US-based universities or European-based universities, university librarians do more. They're trained researchers. They do more than just tell you to shh and to put books on the shelves. That you can contact them and say, I'm building a product, I'm building a service. Can you give me any information on this market? And sure enough, they'll pull resources and they'll help you out. They'll get you access to things. That's their job. Many libraries now have excellent search engines. This is Northeastern where I teach. So I give this to my students. And in one case, somebody was, while we were doing a research project on Dollar Shave Club shaving. So what's the market for razor blades? I could Google, but I would just get advertising. But here I get market studies on global razor blade market, analyst report, manufacturers, country, type. I get academic papers that other people have written that go into great detail on exactly what it is I was looking for. And this one was particularly cool because it took razors and it said, here's for Gillette, here's all the different ways that they sell, 1, 2, and Schick and other disposables. Here's the pricing that's out there for drugstores and mass market and so on. So you can not just get technical information, you can get really good market information. Here's a couple PhDs from Stanford in this case that went out and did their doctoral thesis on this particular subject. You get access to that immediately. One of my projects was food waste. We want to solve foods gets wasted. We want to solve that. So here's a whole series of reports that people have generated, dozens, hundreds of pages on different methods in your industry. This is great information, and this allows you to empower yourself as you're getting ready for customer interviews. Here's one. Every library has a copy of Statista. 600 industries, information charts, infographics. As you're explaining your industry and your market size to your investors, great. This is great, and anything you can validate is wonderful. You can get access to market research firms. Market research firms exist for the large Fortune 1000 companies. They pay tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get reports from Gartner and Forrester and IDC and so on. Every single industry out there has market research firms that track it. So if you're looking at building a media product or consumer packaged goods, here's your guy. If you're healthcare, business services and technology, consumers, so on. So these reports, you would have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to get a subscription to get access to them. They're amazing in terms of the depth of knowledge. If you go to a library that has academic access to these, you should be able to get your hands on some of this stuff. Or if you know somebody that works at a large company in this field, they may subscribe to this information and you get access to it. Next, governments. Turns out governments do a lot of research and catalog information. So this is the Census Bureau. And the Census Bureau was set up originally in the 1700s, in part of the US Constitution, to count people. Because our government will change the number of representatives we have in Congress as a function of the population. So if California has more people, they get more representatives. Alaska has fewer, they get fewer. They've taken that counting people and now count people, have all their statistics as individuals, but also have expanded to businesses. I'll show you that in a second, but you can go on and you can take a look at all the business activity in any given sector and have that online and have all those reports for free. And it's available in the US, it's available in Europe, it's available in individual countries, and all these agencies are doing that for you as a public service. I looked up one in Korea, and here you see, you can get full reports on everything that's going on in agriculture, forestry, and services. You can get everything in health and safety. You can get everything on pricing and household economies. So if you're looking at cracking the Korean market, example being, you can get all of this. World Bank has this same information. IMF has the same information, so on. And you also get tools. So if you're looking at where's your beachhead market and where are you going and what are you entering and why and how does it work? So you can have all that information. Many governments also have agencies that are to help. In the US, it's called the Small Business Administration. And take a look here. They have a bunch of services, one of which I thought was pretty cool, was market research and competitive analysis. Oh my God, look at this. So if you can't read that, but it says market research helps you find customers for your business. Competitive analysis helps make your business unique. Combine them to find a competitive advantage for your small business. Market research to find customers and so on. So here's the website. It's free. Go on. They'll do all the work for you. Awesome. Next, financial reports. So anytime a company goes public, floats their shares on a public market, they have to file something in the US called an S1. It's a registration document. I've written several of them, but they're very thick, and it's this company, in this case Facebook, that had to describe the entire social media industry, where it is currently, where all the trends are. They described all their spending plans overall for the future. They gave a big management discussion, but they have something in there called risks. And the risks are the ones that talk about the dangers that they see out there, why their business can't expand or grow. And that's super interesting. So you have access to all of that. And there's a search engine called Edgar that allows you to go in and you can search for company filings. So anybody that's in your field, take a look, figure out who they are. It's all there. You can also look on investor websites. There's something called corporate investor relations. Every public company, they have to give these quarterly calls to all the analysts and report their quarterly earnings. All of that stuff is recorded and provided. Information's updated every quarter and every year for sure. The other thing that's super interesting is that this is NVIDIA I'm picking on their website. So you can go into their investor relations website and investors right here. Every single time Jensen Huang stands up in front of a series of investors and gives a public presentation, that has to be captured. That's public information, has to be captured and to put on their website. So you will see the CEO of the company talking about everything that's going on in this industry and all the things that are happening. That's the information that's super useful for you and what's happening there. Just a few more. One is every single industry that you're in, every single one has an industry association. I picked a few. If you're building welding products, here's the American Welding Society. Here's the American Pie Council. I'm going to join that. That sounds like fun. Barbecue Association. So what these associations are is they have members, companies who are in this business. They all collect information and data and report up to an association. The association is they pay dues as well as it funds the association. The association generates reports down to everybody and also holds annual conferences so that all the people in the pie industry get together in some random town and talk about pie all the time. All that stuff is available for you, both as reports, but also if you ever wanted to call them. These people are bored. They're super bored. They just, they basically try to collect dues and hear from their members all the time. If you say you're building a brand new company, or in my case, I have people say, I'm a student and I'm doing a research project. Can you tell me more? They will give you all kinds of information on your industry that you would never imagine. It's an amazing resource. And here's the list of industry associations, a couple industry and trade groups in the United States. Consumers, if you're doing anything consumer related, here's the firm that's most often quoted in news reports about consumer sentiment, positive or negative. McKinsey is now, this is brand new. McKinsey has set up a global institute that provides research reports. McKinsey is the biggest consulting firm. If you're doing anything in public domain, finance markets, governments, this is great stuff. Google is your friend, sometimes, but they do have reports that you can see Google Trends and how different things are trending out there in the industry. They actually can generate surveys for you if you want to run surveys and actually provide those surveys to target customers. And they have this thing brand new called Think with Google, about a year old, an entire digital marketing toolbox. And here's that find my audience, market finder, grow my store, test my site. Google does all that stuff, most of it for free. Here's Google surveys. They'll actually, if you conduct a survey, they'll go off and you say, I want to find these people and I want to run a survey to pay Google a little bit of money, and they'll do that for you. Cool. Google Trends. This is dogs versus cats versus squirrels. Squirrels were not trending very well that day, but you get an idea that you can see exactly what's going on in consumer behavior, especially if you're something that's very topical, war-related and so on. You can do the same for social media. So this is social mention. I typed in the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian or whatever. But you can talk about brand and sentiment and reach and compare one thing versus another. And if you have a social marketing campaign, it's a good way to look. SurveyMonkey, you know about, just a way to generate surveys. So there we go. That's a lot of stuff. And hopefully it allows you to do enough research so that you can, even before you start your customer interviews, you can actually have a validated product worth building. Okay, has anybody used any of these tools? Anybody have any recommendations or tips for other people here?
We received information from our nephew. He's about McKinsey a lot, but this information sounds and seems pretty obvious. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say they know what are the trends.
Okay.
And about McKinsey, just this.
Yeah, I've read a few. The quality is a little all over the place. I agree. So in some cases, it's a little watered down. They use it like marketing tools, but you might land on something that's a little better. Try some of these other sources though. Try definitely industry associations. I would definitely take a look at that, and then try this random library. search.
Yeah, we'll try everything you said, because it seems new information. Even if we passed an accelerator, which is new information for us. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. You know, it's I get that same reaction a lot with other startups. They haven't started to work the channels yet. Anybody else anybody else who's done market research using any of these tools?
Yes, for me, I've used Statista to gather the information about market I'm interested in.
Cool. How did you get access? Did you just log into Statista, or did you have to go through somebody?
I just Googled and get the information I need.
Okay. I don't know it extremely well, but I think there's layers to it. So you're going to get, you know, good public access to sort of the generic data. But if you want the sort of hardcore in-depth stuff, you might have to go through, you know, somebody who pays for that. Cool. Anybody else? Yeah, Damien, what's up?
Yeah, we use Google Trends and search in Google for searching mostly general information, then use American Energetic Association to clearly understand our solar market and difference market and differences between states, because in each state it's different solar market. So we use
Really different.
Electricity Association to check it, and then we use SimilarWeb for checking our competitors, their traffic to their site, and tools for to understand how much what traffic they need, and how much people and how much customer they can probably can have.
Good. So I like the fact you recognize the United States is not the United States. It's like 50 individual countries.
Yeah.
Some of which
it's 50 markets.
Some of which are okay. I'll be because I'm in California. Some of which are normal, like we were a little left, but in California, some of which are crazy, like Texas and Tennessee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they know the personalities and to figure out where your product or service goes in best. Yeah, that's super. That's great. That's great. All right, I'm glad to hear. So you guys are a little up on the curve, and hopefully I gave you some more information where you can continue to dig. And this is the thing that sets you apart from somebody else that's going to the market without this knowledge. This is good. All right.
I have a question, if possible.
Of course.
Okay, so sometimes so we have some sources where we can find or search for the market, but sometimes it seems difficult to exactly to identify what you need to search. So for instance, example, so if you build the website which selling as the marketplace for mobile phones, for instance, what is the market research you do? You evaluate the global market of smartphones manufacturing, or it's something different?
It all depends. I mean, that little graph that I said, you find your purpose of what it is you're trying to do, and then you figure out where you might be able to find it. It's a little more structured. First off, it is fun just to go off and look at things. But if you're doing a specific market research, if in your size, if in your case, if you're looking at market size, well, maybe segments and market size and so on. If that's the goal, then you'd step through and you'd be able to try to find exactly that. And for your purposes, we'd have to go through each of the sources and try to figure out which one's useful and which one's not. I think in your case, maybe industry associations would be a good place to start overall. So there's I forget what the mobile telephone industry association is. I think it's CTA in the US, and then start to trace that.
Okay, so sorry for interrupt you. Yeah, the smartphones was just like the example. So in our case, it's like some platform and marketplace for scientific equipment. Okay. So, and this is like not so easy, at least for this moment.
I disagree. I think there will be a place where you can go and find those reports. They exist. Now, is it difficult to find? Yes, that's good sometimes. That's why I started off with this library suggestion, because they're professional researchers. That's their job. And so if you go, hey, I'm trying to find the market for scientific equipment overall, and specifically in these countries and these places, and so on, that would be a good place to start. There might be an association in your case. I don't know. I think it'll depend on what's going on. Are you selling to any vertical or just generally across the board?
Generally, like material science equipment.
Okay.
Material science. Yeah.
Okay, so material science. So you might be able to find how many academic researchers there are in the field. You know, I know Berkeley, for one, has an entire division of material science. One place. I don't know. This is when working with a mentor is good, because you guys can brainstorm on something that can actually work.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All
I
right.
just,
Yes,
can I
please.
just add something? Some of the tools that you mentioned, I think it's also important, once you're using them for market research and understanding your customers, to stack them, to overlay them, the data across each other. Because, for example, you can have a product that, for example, something I worked with, the LVCVA was the Las Vegas Visitors and Convention Association, to understand the traffic coming in. But for example, when you're researching a product for a market that's based in tourism, in this case, you get the numbers, you understand there's a market there. But when it's only until you stack them with Google Trends, you understand then that perhaps customers who are arriving in May are actually booking in March. So it's important to do the extra work to understand that your targeted customers, perhaps that might be seasonal, or, you know, coming in May or June, but in actual fact, you have to overlay it with Google Trends to find out they're doing the research earlier on in the year.
Yeah.
So you have to look then at perhaps February, March as your target market. So
Good.
I think you got to understand it's a holistic view as well. You can't just use one single tool and extract the data. It's important to move between the two and try and understand the full customer experience and the flow.
Yeah, you're speaking to the choir here. I'm a 100% believer. What I gave you was the first of many data points that we'll see. And this is, and it will give you one version of a picture. What you're describing is more like a customer journey. What is it? When does a customer start to figure out that they want to accomplish this job? And then what processes do they go through over what period of time? And then you overlay that with your marketing strategy, because if you're working on a product or service that they're going to book very early on, when do you intercept them, and what does that intercepting point look like? So cool, I'll give you some of that stuff too. We'll break all that out, but I totally agree. All right, I'm gonna whip through. We have about 20 minutes left, so I'm gonna whip through a couple other things here. And again, you're going to get copies of all these slides. All right, so congratulations, you've done your secondary market research, you've got this pile of data, you're now super excited, and let's go off and start to talk to people and get that next level of detail. So how would you start that process? What's the first step of going off and starting your interviews? Many of you have already done this. First thing.
Find whom you want to ask.
Who you want to ask. Gold star. Whoever said that, gold star. Excellent, thanks. So here we go, let's do that. So the way you do, one way to do it is, hang on. Oh, that's why. Sometimes Zoom behaves itself, sometimes not so much. Can you see that?
Blank screen right now.
No? Okay.
Full screen.
Full screen. I don't want full screen. Yeah. Do that again. All right. Cool. There we go. Now it's working. All right. Personas. So personas are basically a hypothetical customer. I believe that this group of customers will be interested in my product or service. So rather, you just don't randomly walk off and people on the street maybe you do, but for the most part, targeting that is important. So we're going to design an ideal customer before we ever hit the streets. We're to guess who they are, what are their problems, how do they solve that problem now, how do they evaluate things, and then we're going to try to match and interview these people out there. And it's different, as one might expect, if it's selling to consumers, you're selling to businesses. Consumers are easier. You're selling to one person at a time. Usually it's more immediate decision cycles. They're based on emotion, which is easy to track. Or if you're selling to businesses, you're dealing with an organization. An organization is full of people. And so the people within that organization, it's not just one person, it's an entire decision-making unit. It's a bunch of people that you'll be dealing with, and you should be able to figure out what that process looks like. Who's your initial champion? How do they do an evaluation? What approvals do they need to do that? Who's going to stand in the way? And so on. So what we're looking for is all this information on your consumers. Well, first off, we're going to construct your persona. Same thing here. So I'll give you some templates about what goes on. Basically, you're designing a person. And that person has certain characteristics like who are they, how old, where do they live, what's their income, what's their gender, and so on. Just your guess about who is going to be your customer. What are their goals and their behaviors and frustrations and so on. So I'm going to show you just a bunch of templates. These are all tools. No one of them is right. Any single one of these or combination of them can be what you need in order to figure out who you're going to interview. And so here's Julia's cafe. Julia's got a cafe, and she's going to go off and try to figure out who she's going to market to in order to increase her business overall. So here's a hypothetical customer. Put a picture, make this person real, give that person a name, give that person a personality and what it is they're looking for. And Julia's cafe can put together a Janelle and a Michael and a Peter, or different people with different categories and characteristics. And then you set up marketing campaigns for people like Janelle and people like Peter and people like Michael. And that's the idea. There's Lisa, who's gotten certain goals and trusted brands and how she finds things out and what her job is. We're designing a product or service for people like Lisa. Here's Dr. Philippe. I don't know why everybody loved, women love Dr. Philippe. I think this picture is actually some sort of a movie star or something.
Patrick Dempsey.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. But so Dr. Philippe, the fake movie star guy, is has these capabilities and has a personality and seeks these brands and so on. So then we can start to Jerome, and the list goes on. You can name them people, or you can name them sort of categories if you wish. You can give them tasks and jobs. This is one of my favorites, is that everybody has a job to accomplish, and you are the problem to solve, and you are the one that lays that out for them. And in doing so, they have influencers who are trying to accomplish some things, and they have some pains and gains. But you can be creative. So this woman, that's her purse. Got stuff in her purse. I don't know. So somehow I guess it's a product or service where you're trying to get in to be one of the items in this thing with very limited space in it. But car buyer, what do they need? What are they looking for? What are they doing overall? And so again, how you market. If you're selling to Adele, hopefully one or more. I'd like to, she'd be cool. She's probably a nice person. But she loves Ben and Jerry's, and she hangs out with Beyonce and so on. So that's Adele's personality if you're selling to her. If you're selling to Elon, he's got a persona. I mean, these are kind of funny, but basically loves Tesla. He's sometimes on and off versus Grimes, and there's his child's name. The short name is X. So there's these, but you get the idea, right? A bio, a person. Okay. Then the objective is to be able to go out on the street or figure out where Elon's going to be hanging out, and you interview people like Elon, you build that profile, and now you know the problems that they have and how you're going to go ahead and solve their problems. So there's templates. This is a generic template that I found. And off we go. B2B, more complicated. So you were dealing with what the persona looks like within an organization. How do they search for information? How do they actually make a purchase? And who's going to influence that? And so the world of a B2B buyer is a lot more difficult. And so each one of these is sort of a tool to step through. And again, the better you understand these, the higher your chances of being able to crack the code, being able to sell and service these products profitably. So there's a lot of these buyer persona canvases. And here's Gail Porter, who's a creative director at an agency. So we're selling something to an agency, ad agency. And it's got all these characteristics and traits and their goals overall. When business people, sometimes, how do they get promoted? How do they get fired? What are they fearful of? And all of those kinds of things. How do they get a bonus? So here's another by Think Inc. Sandra is the chief revenue officer. Here's the marketing manager. Fears, pains and fears and dreams. And how do you affect that? Because often things can be emotional. This one I found looking around. You have the thing, you can design your own personas. And this is a little cheesy, but this is HubSpot, one of the better marketing tools out there. And it will actually allow you to build your persona and create one with an avatar, with all the characteristics that you're looking for overall. And if you're using HubSpot or considering using HubSpot as a marketing automation tool, this one feeds directly into it. It's not bad. So this is a classic decision-making unit. This actually came from the book Disciplined Entrepreneurship. So this is their version of it. So initially you may be working with your champion. That is the one that finds you and is going to work with you on putting together a proposal, initial pricing, feature lists, things like that. They may work with some influencers overall. Maybe you have to deal with health and safety. The champion is bringing something into the company that an end user will use, and you may have purchasing people. Yeah, Alex, what's up?
Sorry, my brother is trying to enter the call, and we don't know who's the host. So if you could,
It's not me.
if the host is here, please accept him in the call. Yeah, sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So you see AO Business Incubators as the icon there. Just send her.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, that's me. Actually, we don't have anything like waiting room, so he should be able to join anytime. I guess that's a problem on his part. I'm actually texting him right now. So.
Okay, thank you. Cool. And I'll wrap this up. So figure out what your decision-making units look like within a company. If you figure that out for one company, maybe the companies that you're working with as a lead, it hopefully looks the same, or you'll see a pattern within other companies as well. And what this means is then you'll be able to better understand the entire funnel, because each one of these players has a role as you're moving people through the sales process. I like this one because it also includes this person. The saboteur sounds pretty creepy, or the gatekeeper. Often, if you're going into a company and you're selling a product or service, they may be displacing something that already exists or replacing somebody. So whoever made the original decision on what they're using now, or whose job depends on making sure that that thing that they're using now is working properly, might get in the way of you coming in and doing something brand new. Figure out who they are. This political crap is really common within an organization. So here's a template that you can use to map out a decision-making unit within a company. This is an example of use case, and it maps people out about their degree of influence low, medium, high, and you can mark them down, label the people, mark them down as to what they're doing, and give a little bit of background. Here's another template that I've used, a DMU planner, user initiator influencer. You can call these whatever you want. This is a tool, it's flexible for you, and you go ahead and do just that. As you're designing personas, then think about users versus customers. So Facebook, in many cases, like Facebook, we're all users. If you do use it, you're users, but we're not the customers. So you should interview both users as well as maybe in this case, advertisers who are the customers. And then in the case of toy stores, that's kind of a good one. You have to cater to the kids, make the experience exciting for them, and make them, scream about what it is they want to buy, because the parents and relatives and so on are the ones that actually buy. So you need to sort of figure out both sides of that equation. Two-sided markets. If any of you use a marketplace, you have buyers and sellers. Figure out a persona for buyers. Figure out a persona for sellers. Interview both sides. Usually what I find with people that are developing two-sided markets is they favor one. They might have been a buyer or worked with buyers earlier, so they're all going to talk to buyers and ignore the other side. Big mistake. Second thing is that when doing this, usually coming together, one side is harder than the other. So in some cases, like you're building a marketplace, is it harder to get buyers or is it harder to get sellers? So focus on the thing to do first and set up your marketing plan. So you bring on, maybe it's sellers. You want to have a full marketplace of sellers so that any buyer that comes in looks at it for the first time and says, oh my God, this is great. Look at all these sellers that are here. It's highly populated. That's exciting. If you don't have any sellers, that buyer comes in and goes, oh, this is lame. I'm not going to use it anymore. So figure that out. So anyway, personas are a really good tool. That's the way we start customer interviews. And even if you're a little bit farther along, take a step back and think who your customers are. Spend an hour and draw it up, brainstorm with your staff, and figure that out. I'm going to end with, I have one of two choices. I either have a short video, 6 minutes on how to interview, or I can do a quick workshop on how to message, how you should drive your messaging.
When someone gives you two options, don't choose both.
You can just share the link for the video later on and now do the workshop.
Yeah, workshop.
No. Workshop? Okay. I like the video. So next time, what we're going to do is we're going to go through customer interview process, and I'll start with that because it needs a little bit of framing and explanation. I just can't send it to you guys. That's no fair. All right, quick workshop. We kind of did this already, a little bit of it. So where are we? Let me get my stupid Zoom. There we go. And no, not that one. Maybe it says, yeah, there it is. Okay. What's your value proposition? What do you explain to people? How do they recognize you immediately? This is the exercise, and we kind of did it already. So I'll circle back, but I'll show you something first, and then I'll circle back to this, and we'll end with just a few of these to have some fun. So this introduction, hi, what do you do? This happens all the time, and you have to be able to succinctly explain, hopefully in 20 seconds or less, what it is you do. I can tell you here, or in the US for sure, when you're meeting people, maybe at a sales convention or some sort of a conference or something like that, the nature of the beast is you get about 20 seconds to meet somebody. Hi, what do you do? Hi, nice to meet you. You have to tell them immediately what's going on. And if that doesn't resonate, they don't understand what you're doing within 20 seconds, they're off to the next thing. You can say, hi, what do you do? Well, you know, I'm from Ukraine and I started my business 5 years ago and I brought my mother and my father into it. And so far it's running really well. No one cares. So it's like immediate feedback. So here's the your value proposition on what goes on. Awesome value propositions identifies your target market, gets their attention, and generates an emotional response. So it's a short, memorable description of what you do. It's not your product or your service, and it's focused on your customer, what they need in their job. So if you do this well, you're better off in marketing. You can meet investors and it's relevant, and actually it helps you sell. So if you're having a hard time, let's get this fixed. So there's 8 different value propositions that are out there, different ways to describe what it is you do. And these are, but you have to make it up on your own and whatever it is you feel comfortable. I'm going to step through these 8 in about 4 minutes here. First one, this one's pretty popular for written. For my customer who has a need, our product or service is a thing that helps them. For non-technical marketers who struggle to find return on investment, social media, our product is a web-based analytics software package that translates engagement metrics into actionable results. So you can be nerdy on this or you can do it well. So this is the short description of a customer who has a problem. We have a solution so that we create value. And then you can stop there. Unlike competition, our solution's better. College students. So I encourage you to try this. I'll show, we don't have enough time for a workshop per se, but take a look and just see if this makes sense for you. And this is the whole thing. I'll do one. Who wants to take a stab at it? Yulia, you're hiding back there. Andre, take a look. Could you do this?
She might be busy now.
All right, that's fine.
But can I answer instead
Please,
of you?
yeah,
We're on
I'm
the
looking
same
for a
team.
volunteer. Please.
For doomsday preppers who wants to find a good survival kit, our product is e-commerce. I guess that's a market that will deliver our users the quality they need. Unlike our competitors. Okay, this is
Yeah.
a bit.
For people that are worried about doomsday, who need to feel secure that they have the right equipment, our product is an entire collection of doomsday stuff that helps them feel prepared, but should the day happen, will increase their chances of survival. Unlike going off and just going to the hardware store and collecting your own, our solution is the right kit for the right time or the right job. Something like
Thank you.
You see, it's all about how I turned it around to customer and benefit as opposed to sort of just features. So it's a good exercise workshop in this whole idea of value propositions out there. We are, well, Flickr for video. We are the complete kit for doomsday fans. We are the Firefox Immediate Play. We are the blank for blank. A lot of people did. We're the Uber for dogs, and that's a way to do it. This one's pretty popular. We help our customers do whatever they need to do by offering them this. We help non-technical marketers discover return on investment in social media by turning engagement metrics into revenue metrics. Customers problem solution. This is actually a good one. This is, what do you do? What do you do? Here's customer, problem, and solution. I believe my best customers are who cannot do the following thing. We offer this. Dave McClure, he's kind of obnoxious, but it's an advertising. It's like a tagline. Mint.com is the free, easy way to manage your money online. It's just who you are and what do you do. This one starts with the massive problem. Doomsday is coming. If a nuclear weapon strikes X number of, this is terrible to even talk about. I don't even like talking about it, but if cities could be entirely wiped out. So we offer the chance for survival. You scare people. This is very common in the US, which we do a lot of fear marketing. If you believe this works for you, it's a tool. One person dies of melanoma every 62 minutes. Oh no, we offer a solution. You can share PowerPoint and Keynote slides using audio. Verb, application differentiator. Simple tagline. We are the easiest operating system for notebook PCs. We are the most secure gateway for mobile e-commerce. Okay, I'm going to end here with this. This is the sort of the thing. There's something I want you guys to sort of either look at it now or later. Positionize me. Positionize me. And so you can put in whatever, here's your name of your product or service, the category you fall into, the intended target audience, the problem you have, and the needs. And it generates all of these value proposition statements for you. So let's take a look, shall we? Actually, let me do it this way. Let's see what's up and running. No, I don't have that link here. So
It's on the description.
yeah, positionize me. Why not? So they did it themselves. Positionize me helps all kinds of business, but you can put in your own. So if I use pickup, you can see it generates all these, and it's a little goofy fun. But at the end of the day, this might help you at your phrase be more punchy, be more succinct, be more direct. And that, my friends, is your messaging workshop for what it is. Last minute. And hopefully some of this, a little bit, was useful for you guys today. So appreciate being here. It's super fun. Slava Ukraini, go Moldova. And nice meeting everybody virtually. I hope to get out there soon. Nastya, what's next? Yay, I'll get you some slides.
Hey, thank you for joining. Thank you for giving the lecture. So next, I guess I'll see you tomorrow with the pitch practice, and
Yes.
we can connect and talk more.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Katrina. See you later.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
guys,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.